All right, we're back.
Yes, indeed.
I'm Jared.
I'm Josh. Good to
What's
be
going
here.
on?
With me, not much. Just hanging out with the man.
Kick ass.
Yeah,
man.
brother.
Man, one quick thing, piggybacking off what we talked about last time, some more Burton Leon
Yes, sir.
Reynolds Jr. is I heard about it on Kevin Smith podcast and realized I was able to watch it on Prime Video. It's called now. It's
Yes, sir.
still Amazon Prime to me. I don't care. But it's the movie called The Last Movie Star, and it's the last film that Burt was in, and it's dang good. They did a good sell job sitting down and talking about it on the podcast. I was like, I need to check that out, and to give you an idea of what to expect, it was directed by Adam Rifkin, and you may not recognize the name, but you will recognize some of the movies he's been. He wrote part of Mouse Hunt. I don't think he's credited, but he was one of the early writers on Mouse Hunt, and also wrote and directed a movie called Detroit Rock City.
Sure did.
So knowing that going in, I was like, okay, I'll give this thing a look. And him, having this kind of love letter type movie for Burt that he tried to get made, and really felt the pressure, like, I got to get this thing done, for considering what happened. Like, got it in like right under the wire.
Yeah, man.
And in the movie, Burt doesn't play Burt, but he plays Burt.
Plays Burt.
Yeah, he plays a character called Vic Edwards, who is this massive movie star from the '70s, and has the movie kind of picks up where he's at now, and it's kind of like, reminiscent of what I'm sure he was dealing with in the last couple of years, and I just super dug it. You get the feel and you get the vibe of the kind of the low budget kind of deal of the movie, but it's not. There's some movies that are indie and low budget, and you really feel like I'm watching an indie low budget movie. Now this one was just one that this guy's really wanted to get this thing done, and he tells the story on the podcast of there was 3 or 4 different times of having the money, then falling through and having and falling through, and just got it done, and got it done in a really good way, and
Yeah,
I dug
man.
it. There was a few familiar faces in the movie. Ariel, whatever her name is, from Modern Family is in it, and Clark Duke, I believe, the Hot Tub Time Machine, the young kid.
Yeah, cool, man.
That's the story of they get Vic Edwards, even down to having a football tie-in. I think that was part of writing the movie, them trying to decide what town to set it in. It ends up being set in Nashville, and they get Vic Edwards to come accept an award from the International Nashville Film Festival.
Yeah, buddy.
Isn't so international, and you kind of you get that idea early on, like, okay, this is a hole in the wall kind of thing. But he kind of gets out to the film festival and has this William Shatner on Saturday Night Live moment of like, nerds watching these movies in your basement, and but even down to like Burt playing Burt but not playing Burt. There's even a tie-in to they go to Neyland Stadium, and he kind of gets to walk out on the field and talking about his old football days and stuff like that. And it's just a really fun one to sit down and check out. And because it's on Prime, I mean, that's part of the fun of watching some of these. Like, man, you can just go check it out and see it and not have to be burdened with it. That's not something that you got to run out and buy a copy of it because you're going to watch it every week for the rest of your
That's
life.
right.
And it's that's the sales job you got from the podcast. So it's fine to go check out. But
Buy a copy and put it right next
Yeah.
to Doubt on your weekly movie shelf.
Doubt Wednesday.
Doubt Wednesday.
Oh God, let's open up a vein.
Yeah, we despise Wednesdays. It's been a good week. It's been a good first 2 days of the week. It's Doubt Wednesday.
One of the cool things that they do at the movie that when you finally see it, that wasn't as impressive as they made it sound, but what's impressive about it is dealing with some of these movie companies that they had to deal with. Is they put old Burt in scenes with younger Burt. There's a scene of him riding with the bandit and kind of telling him like what you have to look out for. And there's also him. He's floating down the river in Deliverance.
Yeah, the Deliverance.
Yeah. And so those, just to me, the more impressive thing isn't them CGIing him into that scene. It's dealing with the movie companies to get that approved.
It's a bunch of studios, man,
and get that ball rolling. But I think, it was done for somebody like Burt, and that's really what it was. Why that happened. It wasn't like let's get every cent out of this footage that we can get. Like, no, we need. I think they had some other ideas of what they could have done, but like, we really want this if we can get it. And even down to it's a scene from back in the Gunsmoke days with Burt and the lady that plays his first wife in the movie, and they have a quick scene with them at the end to kind of show them this couple in their younger days, and you gotta get it. The scene didn't grab me the way it did everybody else on the podcast I was listening to. It was like, this is fine and good, but it's kind of, I think they looked up that this actress was still around to do it, is where the real luck came from. I just didn't buy into that part of it as much as everybody else did. But nonetheless, still a good movie, still worth going and checking out, and a fun watch and to remember Burt.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. Lee Corso was on game day telling Burt Reynolds stories because they were they were roommates. They lived together, and it was awesome. And Lee, Corso's an interesting guy to me because he's got a little Dick Vitale in him. Now he's nowhere near as over the top silly as Dick, but they both have when they shift into that gear of like real guy / former coach. I like both of them. I really enjoy listening to him talk. But Corso, I love when he gets serious about stuff because he's an interesting person. Yeah. And he did really well, and you could tell. I mean, it wasn't like that hammy. Oh, I'm gonna make
choke it for the cameras.
Look like I'm gonna get. Yeah, it wasn't. I mean, he was really. You could tell he was working on it, but he did a good. He really held it together. Did real good. But it was funny. He says, "Man, we're playing football at Florida State, doing that thing," and he comes in one day at the place we were living, and he's like, "Of course, I'm gonna take me some acting lessons, go to Hollywood, be a big star." And I'm like, "Man, you get out of here, man." He said, literally, even then, he said, back in school, he knew then, but I just loved Course. I thought that was awesome. Of course, I'm gonna go to Hollywood, I'm gonna come up here, work with you guys. I thought that was so cool, man. It was cool. It was nice to hear. I thought that was cool. I was hoping that if he wanted to talk about it, they'd let him, because I'd heard that before. It's like, crazy as it is, I don't know what it is about, like, football playing actors, but they all wind up having, like, amazing roommates. Like I might have this wrong, but I think it's correct. Tommy Lee Jones is a Harvard guy, and he was up there playing.
Is that him and Gerald Ford or something?
Jerry Ford, believe it or not, was actually a Michigan guy. Believe me, I follow Big Ten football a little bit, and if you follow Michigan at all, they can't help it. But now Tommy Lee Jones is not that old. It's just he's always seemed older than he is. But him and like God, who was it? It was like I think it was Gore. Like him and Al Gore were like roommates or something, and I'm like, what is it about these football playing dudes that wind up with other celebrities that that's crazy, man. Yeah. Anyway, I got way afield from Burt, except that it was cool. I like that.
Of course, I'm gonna go out to Hollywood. I'm gonna do some scene studies. All I need to know is what kind of car this guy drives.
It's gonna be fantastic. I'm gonna get me a car. I'm gonna date a real cute brunette. Wait till you see. You ain't gonna believe it. Of course, it's gonna be unbelievable.
So, but that's
in the scene that we're writing now, of course, I was like, "Yeah, sure, Burt, whatever." Yeah. Burt reaches over and grabs the band and has like, "You just watch me," and walks out the door.
Watch this mess.
Yeah, watch this. Don't take your eyes off me, buddy.
There was. I wanted. Speaking of cool football tie-ins, I want to say there's a scene, either they're in Nashville. Burt, gets his way over to Knoxville to go check on some things when this film festival is going to be a dud.
Namely, Neyland.
And but there's a scene at the Knoxville Grand Hotel or whatever. It may be a legit hotel. or went by that name for the movie or whatever. But there's a party scene that I swear it had. I didn't check the credits, but it had to be Jerry Glanville.
Yeah.
That is in the movie, and I'm like, oh,
that's awesome,
Falcons
man.
head coach Jerry Glanville. Are you scared?
Oh man, Jerry was awesome. Oh man, Jerry Glanville's got it. Ran Brett Favre out of Atlanta. Well, worked out better for everybody then, didn't it? Because Brett Favre wouldn't be Brett Favre if he played in Atlanta the whole time.
Yes, man. I knew there was another type of football tie-in that I was trying to remember from the movie. And if it's not him, he has a doppelganger.
Yeah, man. It's Barry Glanville.
Yeah.
Man, talk about Neyland Stadium, man. I always think of this because it was awesome. The last time I went through there, we were going up to Ohio to see my family, and it was kind of like, it wasn't really a reunion, but it was a cluster of us all going. And my cousin Theresa, and Theresa's a very good and fun to talk to football fan. Her son Drew, who's my second cousin, and we're closer in age, that's like the most learned college football fan that I know. We love talking, and it's cool too, man, because it's kind of like when we talk, man. Like, I am Mr. Georgia Tech. Drew's like yourself. He has died in the wool University of Georgia. And we had the best conversations because, it is possible. Yeah. But we have a real good time talking that stuff. We always joke about how many times they play Rocky Top. So we were discussing going by the stadium, and I don't know why, this was just so funny, man, because we were talking about it, and it's just like, yeah, Drew was saying the last time, he's like, I'm never going again. Because I can't do it. I just can't do it. So we're like seeing the signs for Neyland Stadium and all that, and it's like, hey man, we should just think about the stadium. I'm like, yeah, maybe the band's practicing today. And as soon as I said it, she's like, hey, what you think they're playing? It was awesome, man. So that was our notion, was that band practice at Tennessee is 4 hours every day, and that's all they do is play the one song. Like, that'd be great, man.
Please kill me.
Yeah, seriously, dude.
Man, do you want to dive into the show, or do you want to talk about? We're going to end up with the boxing stuff.
I can get through that real quick. I was telling the man, my brother and I watched Canelo Golovkin 2 because we really liked the first one. We're super into it. We were talking about all these choices that you have to make. And last time, for he and I, there was, and we discussed this ad nauseum if you want to watch the old shows. I won't do it again. But you had Mayweather and McGregor. And then it was like 6 weeks later or something like that. It was Golovkin and Canelo. And I mean, for us, we really like boxing, so it was like that. This is real easy. But I remember, it's one of my favorite things about this second fight is that all the ESPN media members that like to make a punchline of the first one, because, well, I mean, there's Mayweather and Conor McGregor, that's going to get all the money. No one's going to watch this thing. And then after it came off and was a huge success, you kind of had some crap to eat, and then you tried it again with like, oh man, Canelo failed the drug test, I'm not even going to have this fight. And it's like, well, you don't pay much attention to the fight game, do you? Oh, do you think they'll reschedule? Sweet Lord, don't be so dumb. So anyway, we were very excited about it, and I cannot overstate how good it was. And again, I picked this fight overall in, so I'm very happy that it was good, because it was expensive as a son of a gun. I hate it, but I really wanted to see it, so it's okay. But man, they go out, and it took Golovkin a hot minute to get going. I thought that Canelo was he was better in the opening rounds, but he did this one thing. He kept doing this one thing that was super impressive, and I'll get to that in just a second. But when Golovkin turned it on, it was unbelievable, because he was like surging, and this guy kills people. His knockout percentage is 34 out of 38 wins. I mean, he's knocking people out. That's what he does, and he is sitting here tattooing Canelo. And after he's done, Canelo goes back to that one thing I was talking about him doing. I swear to God, those guys weren't further apart from each other than this all night. It's the strangest thing, because he's a counter guy. Normally, you back off and let the guy throw, and then you give your counters. Well, Canelo, apparently, the lesson that he learned from Mayweather and McGregor is Floyd went out and fought that fight nobody thought he could fight as well. He's a counter puncher, and he's just not active, and la-di-da. And the Skip Baylesses of the world like to tell you, well, Conor McGregor got him out of his comfort zone in a way no one's ever done it before. And maybe it's true. I'm not in his head. I can't tell you, but I can tell you what I saw. And what I saw was a guy that went forward once for half a round, got tagged with McGregor's best punch, and was like, this guy cannot hurt me. So there's no reason to not go forward. If you know the guy can't hurt you, why would you not be entertaining? And that's what he says happened. That's what I saw happen. And the rest is just opinion, any hoodles. But it's fascinating because it ain't like Golovkin can't hurt you. So just because he was so ill about the last fight and people being really let down by it, he told them all, like, by God, I'll give you a fight next time. And he said it and he meant it. And Kellerman made a great point at the end of the fight about how, because it comes down to the decision. And controversial is not the right word. I had it scored as a draw. I scored a draw. I thought it was dead on even. I loved it. Really entertained by it. I thought it was great. And so you had one judge had it as a draw, and then two had it going to Canelo. So Canelo wins, new champ, and Golovkin has his first loss. I was telling you earlier, man, that Harold Lederman had it like 4 points for Golovkin, and my brother and I both were like, nobody won this fight by 4 points now. There's no way. But it's interesting that so many people now, Golovkin got robbed. What'd you have it scored? 115, 113. I'm like, okay, well, I had it 114 apiece. So I'm telling you, it's like this. Nobody could have gotten robbed unless they pop up there and it's like, 180 to 9, Yeah. But nah, man. Anyhow, sorry to get off on it, and I don't really make any points about it except that it's cool and fun to look forward to something like that. And then it's even better than you could have thought, man. It's awesome. I loved it. That was super cool. My one other outside sports thing is these fellas right here, who are still just unique for the league. We've never ever seen anything like this before, and that's cool. But the reason I'm bringing them up today is because they played yesterday, and Nagby's back. And I'm loving that Nagby is back because they did just fine without him. They're the best team in the league without him, but with him. It's not like he's the end of and be all. It's not like he's the capital letter. But what he is he's the difference between ending the sentence with a period and ending the sentence with an exclamation point. The guy is a stellar, fantastic player, and it doesn't show up on the stat sheet except in this way. All season, the first guy that really jumped out at all of us was Julian Gressel, because Gressel can play everywhere, but they wound up sticking him at right back just because we needed one, and there's nothing he can't do. Whole beginning of the season, man, the right side is just this avenue for him and Tito Villalba. They're working out the side, man. They're playing crosses in. They're getting assists. And it's because when you've got them on the right side and then you come back to the interior midfield, man, your right central midfielder is Darlington Nagby. And you have to respect that guy so much that everybody that's supposed to defend the perimeter takes one step inside and then 1.5 steps. And then they're 2 yards deep and then they're 3 yards deep. And they keep coming in to cheat to help out the guy that's marking Nagby. And it opens up that lane, and it happened again. Nagby plays his first game Saturday back. Gressel has 2 assists. United win 3. They had 3 goals in 28 minutes. They just went to Colorado and were like, we're going home. Yeah. Unbelievable, man. But it's insane. They're so good anyway. But, man, when you put that guy back out there, you just start to see the defense slide a little bit. Just because they're afraid of him, and you should be, because he's just so smart and his distribution is so good. But whichever way you slide, you're in trouble. But especially if you come off that right perimeter, because they'll just kill you. Gressel will just kill you. Him and the communication and not communication, but the nonverbal communication, the understanding those two guys have, for me anyway, has been the most enjoyable part of this season. And remember, Joe Martinez has shredded the goal record and is going to win the MVP award by 1,000 miles. It's awesome. It's so much fun, man. I'm enjoying it. Hoping we can. I want that supporters shield, man. Don't win MLS Cup doesn't mean anything. Well, MLS Cup is like any other playoff tournament. We should be the favorites to win it, and maybe we will. We'll go see. But the supporters shield's the one I like because that's the one you actually have to earn. That's the one that's like the old ASCAR championship where you play these games. Who's got the most points? Okay, you get this. And also, the ultimate thing is you want to go to the Champions League next year, and either one of those things gets you in. So I'm like, right on. But that's outside sports because, boy, was my college football Saturday a stinker. Oh, everybody I was pulling for got beat. Everybody I don't like won. I'm like, well, this just sucks. But at least it was week 3. Maybe I got it out of the way early this year. And if I have to, I always think about, like, harmony. And if the Jackets had to go to Pittsburgh and lose for the Falcons to win today, that's fair. Yeah. That's totally fair. But I will say this on behalf of Pittsburgh. Since they joined the ACC from the Big East, that's the new Clemson, because we can't hang with Clemson like we used to. They were like, I think it was 22 years in a row, Georgia Tech or Clemson was 6 points or less. Yeah. And I think it was 18 of those 22 or something like that was 3 or less. It was the most fun and competitive series in the ACC. Well, they've really stepped up. They're like, Clemson's not well, they're the top team in the ACC. They're beyond that. They're like nationally significant. You have Alabama, you have Georgia, you have Clemson. That's really about it on that scale. And Ohio State's way up there too. They're very, very good, but I think it's a little different.
Yeah.
Anyway, we can't really hang with Clemson anymore. So Pittsburgh is the new Clemson. Every single time we get together, they beat us off. It's ticking me off because they beat us all the dang time, but it's 4 points here and 2 points there, and like I'm tired of losing to you guys, but man, it's exciting. It's fun having a feud like that. Yeah, man.
That was a point that somebody made on a podcast I was listening to earlier this week, is the Rob Riggle show, and it's going on about college football, and I guess trying to make a case for him not being in it, because he's like, it's always Alabama, it's always Georgia, and I was like, well, not always Georgia. I mean, the past several years, it's been heavy Alabama, heavy Clemson. Georgia got in last year. Like, don't get sick of us yet.
Yeah, no, I think the problem, and I hate it, but the problem that he's having is that anybody outside of SEC country, I know people here. People here will fight you to the people that are here will fight you to the death. Oh, this player doesn't have a bias towards the SEC. They still talk about. I think Ohio State is so good. And it's not. It's when they talk about Ohio State, listen to what they say. They talk about the Big Ten all the time because the Big Ten divorced them, and they are still upset. Yeah. They're hurt. They were left at the altar, and they're really upset about it.
Yes.
But it's just all the endless
emancipated itself.
the endless propaganda about the Southeastern Conference. Unfortunately now, well, it's always Alabama, which is true. Well, it's always Georgia. No, at one time it was Florida, and then it was LSU, and then it was Auburn twice. Yeah. And now it's Georgia. So I'm with you. It's not always Georgia. What it always is the SEC. Don't lump them all together, man. If you know, I mean, I get it, but they really are. Georgia's in a spectacular place right now. They're
it's gonna be us for a while.
Yeah, the year this is the year
when the tide is turning.
This is the year where they're going to try. I truly believe they will try and get at least 3 SEC teams in the playoff, which drives me crazy because I hate the playoff anyway. Because 4 teams, it's not that it's 4 teams; it's that there is 0 criteria that can get you in, and I can't stand that. If you don't have if you don't have a play in, you don't have a playoff. Yeah. But if you go to 8 teams. And normally the thing is the Power 5 and the 3 wild cards, but the man's had to listen to me on this. I'm going to plead real quick, and then I'll try and get on with it because we got a rest of the show to review. We got to get the show started.
Yeah.
I think the Power 5 is going to fall apart simply because you either dissolve the Big 12 with Texas and Oklahoma joining fill in the blank, and we'll get to that in a second. And then you've got 4. So your 4 conference champions go, and then 4 wild cards go. And I think I learned something the last time I discussed this with somebody because I went out of my way to put the sentence. I'm not saying that it's required that you win your conference. I just think if you do, you should go. Yeah. And I got the impression from him that it's like, oh, I didn't think that's what you meant. I was thinking that if you're not a conference champ, you can't go. And I'm like, I bet this whole time I haven't been explaining that. I think if you win, I love conference championships because you got to earn those suckers. Yeah. If you win the SEC East, it's because you had the best record in the East. And then you go to Atlanta, you play the team from the West, and when they hand you that, and also this is dumb, but the SEC championship trophy is sweet looking, man. There's so many dumpy looking trophies now. Then when you have, like, the ACC championship trophy is awful. I wish it looked better, but it's just not very good.
How many football-shaped looking trophies can you make?
It's
actually a sculpture.
It's awesome. The SEC championship trophy is freaking awesome. So that's very, very cool. And I'm happy to say there's a couple of them in Atlanta because I don't know if they've always given that trophy or if they just made replicas for the old school teams that won and sent them out, but Tech's old SEC championships, they're in there, and I'm like, yes, we have that good-looking trophy. It's awesome. Yeah. Excuse me. That and the Orange Bowl, the physical Orange Bowl trophy is awesome. It's because it's an Orange Bowl, and I love it. Sorry, getting sidetracked. But 2 years ago, you had Ohio State stuck in the playoff for no reason. Didn't win their conference. More importantly, didn't win their division. Yeah. That I have a huge problem with, and I know that Alabama answers that same description, but that's the point. You put Ohio State in so that any time going forward that you jam 2 SEC schools, well, Ohio State didn't win the conference, and they got it. It's the same reason. I've said this since day one. It's the same reason that Ohio State won the first one. There's no bias. Ohio State got one, and it's like, man, I know you guys have to keep the Big Ten happy. I'm going to finish this up. I'm taking forever, but I truly believe that the dumpster fire that is the University of Texas football program right now is all part of this, because Texas is ready to go. Texas would be in the Big Ten right now if they hadn't had a hissy fit over. But Oklahoma's academics are so bad. It's not a land-grant university. In the academics, they don't have any academic prestige at Oklahoma. And I'm like, oh yeah, but you know, half the it's just most of the Big Ten schools are pretty doggone good. Ohio State is very overblown. They think they're a lot better than they are. But Michigan, Illinois, Northwestern, those are unreal schools. They're great. Rutgers is a very good school. University of Maryland's really good. So it's not that they don't have a precedent. It's just, if you knuckleheads want Texas, and Texas says, we agree to your terms financially, but us and Oklahoma are a package deal, and you turn them down because of OU, you're a moron. Yeah. That's the dumbest thing you can do. It's the same. They try to play that same thing because the Big Ten wants to expand and leave. I truly believe that. The teams they constantly target are Texas, Florida State, which I don't think they will anymore. Florida State, I won't get into that now, but I'm frustrated with what's going on there, and I hate those guys, but I love Willie Taggart. Anyhow, Texas, Florida State, Georgia Tech, North Carolina, and possibly Virginia. They talk about them all the time. Well, we'll see about Atlanta. I don't think we're going anywhere. I don't think if you can't offer better basketball than what you can. The Big Ten basketball is good. It's just it ain't ACC basketball. And Georgia Tech, most of the ACC schools, not called Clemson or Florida State, learned a long time ago. If you can play hardwood, that's where the money is. That's why Miami got so good. It's Miami, and they're great at basketball now. Anyhow, way sidetracked. But Baker Mayfield to what's-his-face now, the Oakland outfielder that's playing quarterback for Oklahoma, and he's really good. I should remember his dang name, but I haven't watched him play yet, and I just don't remember it. But anyway, he got drafted by the A's, signed a huge contract, and went to OU to play football, and so that's what's going on with him. But between those two guys and Trae Young 24/7, I am telling you, ESPN's trying to court Oklahoma. That's what they're trying to do, is recruit Texas and OU to join the Southeastern Conference. And I honestly hope they do, and the reason I hope they do is I love the Big Ten. But again, if you're going to be arrogant enough to say, well, we just can't take Oklahoma, you want to come by yourself? And they tell you no, and then you're, well, okay, we're putting our foot down, fine, then get the hell out of the way.
It'd be a good fit.
Stop trying to recruit them. If they've told you they've given you their not ultimatum, but their terms. Yeah. It's that one thing, and you want to get huffy. It's the same thing with North Carolina. North Carolina would be in the Big Ten right now, except they're like, us and Duke are a package deal. Do you know how much money we make with those basketball games? Well, Duke doesn't add anything to the Big Ten. Doesn't add anything where? Academically, it's better than any school in the Big Ten. And yes, Northwestern. I'm looking at you, Mike Wilbon. Duke's the most superior school on this side of the country that's not in the Ivy League. Academic standards, nope, lose that one too, man. And it's a private school, but so's Northwestern. You've already got one, so that can keep your collective GPA up. Now, you don't want Duke in there because you want to pretend the Big Ten basketball tournament means something. You don't want none. Nobody wants none, because see, in that sport, they actually do play a tournament. And Mike Krzyzewski 5 different times has come out the other end of it, beating everybody once recently, including thumping the previously, oh my God, but they just slow it down so much at Wisconsin, and they play such tough defense in Wisconsin. How's Duke going to beat Wisconsin? Same damn way they beat everybody else. So anyhow, I get very personal about that stuff because I love my ACC, I love my hoops. And that's my whole thing about, well, Georgia Tech should join the Big Ten. Maybe we should, but you're going to have to up the basketball because that's where our money is. Anyway, sorry to get so sidetracked. I like the fact that those teams are being courted by the Southeastern Conference. Unfortunately, the Big 12 is trying to stay together. The Pac-12 has already extended an invitation to Texas and OU, and what happens then is you have ESPN on behalf of the SEC pumping up Oklahoma. On the other side of that, you have Fox pumping up Oklahoma. So it's just this endless love fest for the fighting JRs, and I'm like, talk about somebody else. Yeah. My gosh, man. But it is kind of funny to see the Baker Mayfield myth just fall apart before your very eyes. This is the same thing with Tebow. Yeah. In 2006, that's when all the contract stuff started, when it was like the SEC's the way to be. And it's Tim Tebow, and he's the greatest player of all time. They started that mess right when the contract started up, and it's like, all right, guys. Anyway, sorry to get sidetracked, but I'm with you. I would love Texas and OU in the SEC. Part of it is a middle finger to the Big Ten, but also just football-wise. Yeah. I think that LSU and Oklahoma playing all the time. And also you get Texas and Texas A&M back. And Texas A&M is the most valuable college football team in the country. Y'all making that jump up. And 2, add Texas to the Southeastern Conference and see how long it is before you're thumping Jimbo Fisher right back down the hill. Come on.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, man. We're 30 minutes in. I haven't opened this FedEx yet.
Box cutter.
That's right, man.
We're going to get this box open and have a good time.
You need to do some have yourself a good time.
But man, that's had a wrestling show tonight that I expected to absolutely despise, and ended up being, for the most part, a decent show. I mean, because I've watched, well, I thought about watching some of the prediction shows, but even some of the prediction shows on this very YouTube, I was like, who cares? I don't even care what you predict's going to happen, because I don't care anything about this show.
I don't want to see that match, man.
And turned it on. I'll tell you right now, I usually don't watch the pre-show, don't care.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what's on it, I just automatically, by default, like, if it's on the pre-show, it means I'm not seeing it. So there's only so much I can get down with.
I understand. It's so many hours just to watch the show. Yeah, man.
Yeah, like, man, I got to save it up. And turned the show on, instantly had to turn it off, because I caught the part of the Jeff Hardy match where Randy and his, nasty ass screwdriver, God knows where it's been, was through his ear. That's not enough. Then he starts twisting, like, well, I'm turning this off, and you start watching that.
That's enough of that.
I just saw that, ear just popping for no reason. And I know they can repair those now, but it's like, why, Randy? Why would you do that?
Why, Randy?
Why would you put yourself through that?
That's the only reason they do it.
And everybody was, I did see some reactions to the Jeff Hardy fall. Like, does nobody remember John Morrison climbing the Elimination Chamber just a few years ago and jumping off the thing? To me, it looked like just like that, just not quite as impressive.
Yeah, what crazy thing is Jeff Hardy going to do today?
Yeah.
Are we seriously still asking that guy to raise the bar? I'm done demanding things of Jeff Hardy. His brother's already got his.
On the day his brother announced retirement, I think a lot of people were tuning in. Well, I guess Jeff's just going to kill himself.
Jeff's going to die.
Let's watch.
I can't miss it. Is he wearing the blue blazer costume?
All right.
What you gonna do there, Jeff? It's like I'm done. Jeff Hardy has, especially for the reason that Matt's retiring.
That dang old Hell in a Cell made of Twizzlers and land on his neck.
God, that looked so bad. Oh
Yeah.
my God, that was just awful.
I have to get that out of the way early. I didn't notice it at first until it was over and for the main event. Like, good God, that looked terrible. It's if nobody's gonna get color on this match, then at least the cell will be red.
Yeah, seriously. They'll think, oh man, they blood all over the place. Oh my God.
Oh, the cell made out of
But ain't
strawberry Twizzler.
Ain't nobody got any cuts or anything. Shut up.
Yeah.
Just watch. Red cage.
No, he's on you.
Red cell. Red cell.
Crimson Cell.
Gordon Soley pops up out of nowhere.
Oh God.
Nah, man. The Jeff and Randy thing, I'm with you. It's like,
Why is this still going on?
Why
these guys have a match on the show and
Yes.
Nakamura doesn't.
My number one thing with it is, if you watch the show, I don't like Randy Orton. That's the whole thing. It's like, hey, someone else for Randy to beat, and lo and behold, what a shocker! He was booked to win. I'm amazed, man.
Yeah.
My God.
Jeff Hardy dove through the table and Randy forced that referee with his, wiener hand.
His wiener hand.
To count three, like, yeah, because that, that's kind of the deal. I mean, it's still the match, but I just didn't care. But that being said, the other stuff I got to see,
Yeah.
I really dug and enjoyed it way, way more than I expected to. So I was really pleasantly surprised to like this show as much as I did.
Me too. And the thing that's strange is that when I talk about enjoying it, I am 100% excluding the main event.
Oh yeah.
Because that was just dumb. I mean, I just think I'm tired of the guy, and I think that I don't mean to put words in folks' mouths, but I understand the music hits, and you're like, oh man, oh God, he's here, holy smokes! And then almost by the time he got to the ring, it seemed like the crowd was like, don't tell me he's coming back. We're not doing this again, are we? Okay, a little run in, a little comeback. Wow, they swerved us like Jericho and All In. Ho. But we're not doing this again, are we? It felt like even before it landed, they were like, don't bring him back. Don't put him in this thing. Don't put the belt back on him.
Yeah.
Again, they had that, the one little sign. And I know their video packages are incredibly, tainted. Like you have Becky Lynch slapping Charlotte, and you get like stock footage of people looking shocked, and it's like they weren't in the building that night because they would have been screaming their approval, and everyone knows it. And so you have that one person. You have that one person with the sign like, finally we have an everyday champ, and it's like that one is real. And I love the fact that like first order of business was to have the match with Finn, and of course he doesn't have his rematch clause and Roman just buried him. Well, I thought the match was awesome. I enjoyed the crap out of it, and it's nice to see Finn get a high water mark match. And it's just, you put a guy like that in there with Reigns is much more solid than people think. He's not always a winner. It's not always a homer. Yeah. But he's had good matches with people, and Finn Balor's really good. So you put the two of them together, and it was like, I loved that. I thought it was very, very good. But yeah, man. Anyway, I'm stuck on this one match that wasn't very much fun, so now we'll get to something that was fun. I really enjoyed Becky and Charlotte. There's a lot of bias there. I know there's a lot of bias there. Maybe that's all it was, but I enjoyed it. I was telling Jared, man, it's rare and it's always pleasant when the match that's booked like a wrestling match, like a classic back and forth wrestling match, including, like chain wrestling and the break, and we're separated, and the crowd gives the nice Japanese approval of like just the good ground wrestling. That's exactly how Becky and Charlotte started, which I thought was really cool, because if you want to ring the bell and have them just kill each other, that's okay, but it's much better to do what they did, because you kind of work up, and then Becky gets it, and the celebratory, and I'm not shaking your hand, I'm out of here. And if you want to keep going forward, that'll work, and you can have Charlotte go for the rematch, and maybe Becky beats her in the second one too, man, to retain, and it's all good, man. And then you somehow work blood feud into it, and then you don't need to. I had this like fantasy. I was telling Jared, I had this worked out in my head where you have Charlotte in the peacock robe, and you have Becky Lynch in like the cut-off T-shirt, a sleeveless T-shirt, and like I want her to come out in like Dusty Rhodes Bunkhouse Stampede gear. I want like street fight, and then I just want them to hate each other, And all I'm doing is just rerunning I talk about that a lot, about feuds that don't need belts, and I really like that. And I like when people build stuff like that. And NXT's got the one right now, probably in all the pro wrestling I watch anyway. Unfortunately, the belt is still in there. But you slide that strap off of Ciampa, you lose nothing from those matches, except that we were saying, I wish I remember what show it was, because I'd like to give credit for it. It might have been most of the things I lift or enjoy is Wrestle Talk. And but they were talking about how man, it's just a situation like you can't follow. Who's going to follow those guys? And then they kind of continue, and it's like, well, they destroyed the ring, so of course nobody can follow them. That's a great point, man. We're gonna just rip the ring to shambles, and then like, all right, tamp that back down. We got a couple of more matches.
That's one of the. I think it was a tweet that Ciampa sent out. Was when he won the NXT title, and his joke was, well, now you're guaranteed to have the NXT title at main event takeover. It's like, oh, that's a burn, a bit of a burn.
Yeah, buddy, seriously, man. Like, yikes.
The PWI 500 came out, and he put his top 10 that were all versions of his nickname or Ciampa. So I thought that was pretty.
I think that's the way it should be, man. I love that guy. He's quite fun, because it's one of those things. Ciampa, what he's doing is and I always pronounce his name with a G. I'm sorry I get that wrong every time. He's the champ. I should say Ciampa. It's a lot closer than what I actually say. But it's very cool to me. We talked about Cody and Aldis. And understand, I still haven't seen it because I wanted to watch the boxing match. But from what I hear and what we discussed and what I've heard in reviews, it really does just seem like take elements of the classic wrestling title match and not update, but perform it for today's audience. And that's what he's doing. He's doing a lot of classic heel stuff, but he puts just enough edge on it to where it's nice and modern. And the guy is super impressive. I love that guy. And I feel so bad because I complain all the time about them breaking up DIY, except that it's so perfect that they did that I try not to fuss too much about it. I just moan about it because I miss tag teams. But it's Shawn and Marty. Love the Rockers, but come on, they had to break them up. It's the same thing. And then especially when you see them work, it's like, it's just one of those things where I know it took a while for them to get to it, but I'm so glad they took that time, because you just had Ciampa off of TV just becoming this monster, and it's like, this is awesome.
It was done at a time when, like, okay, if you're gonna send up the Revival and Authors of Pain and not do anything with them, you might as well break us up too.
Yeah,
So it kind of, that was in that time period of shaking everything up. Like, well, we'll shake it up.
Yeah, it was cool, and it worked, man. And again, they're just each of those guys is so good. I'm like, man, I understand. I'm very selfish about my tag wrestling, but this I understand.
And then
Can't be mad at you.
that was an awesome tag match tonight with you had Rollins and Ambrose, and then surprisingly McIntyre and Ziggler. It was crazy good. I liked it a lot, and it was one of those that kind of like, as it was starting, it's like, this might be the beer run, pizza run match, and got sucked into it. Like, man, this is dang good.
I did the same thing, and it took it a minute to get going. Two of the guys in that match I really like. I like Rollins. I know he's a jerk, but I enjoy a lot of his work. I love Ziggler. Ambrose is very interesting to me because Dean is one of those unique cats where sometimes it's like, and sometimes it's really good. And it's strange to me because usually the stuff is that I really like. I mean, I understand, chairs and tables, and he's good at. I understand he's good at all that like weird rule hardcore stuff, and it's great and it's a lot of fun. But there's just certain people that he seems to get kind of a good kick out of working with, and just there's something about he just orchestrates these kind of classic plots, or he's a part of them. It seems to me like he's doing the calling, and the ones that I've noticed. And it's very good. We talked to him, and Miz had real good stuff. I think Ziggler has good stuff with everybody, but him and Dean was different, was unique. And it's hard to explain, but Ambrose says when he's not even when he's on, he's always on. It's just sometimes I don't get it.
Yeah.
But when I get it, I really like that guy. It's exactly what you said, man. When it starts off, I'm like, oh, man, we're kind of hot, dude. They've been running up here. It seems like the women's match was right before them, and so they're coming in hot. And it's all like once they got rolling, it was just like all of a sudden we're 15 minutes in, and I'm like, I'm really into this. This is awesome. I totally agree. I was very excited, or very impressed, a little bit surprised, and very impressed. It was cool, man. And I love the finish.
Yeah, it was
the finish was sweet, man. And there's something. I'm a huge mark for that superplex into the Falcon Arrow. That is a sweet move. So you do that and time the Claymore to get in there, and Ziggler just, I mean, it was cool. It was a very cool and clever finish. Same thing with the finish of Becky and Charlotte. You get that bang bang gotcha finish, and I love that because I know
that was kind of a surprise with that one.
I loved it. Yeah,
it was good.
It's like people talk all the time about how much they love Steamboat and Savage, and I'm like, you do remember how that ended, right? And a lot of championship matches end that way. You don't. The whole thing of like hitting your finisher 19 times and pinning somebody is relatively new. Back in the day, if you were going to beat the champ, most people didn't expect you to.
Yeah.
So that was cool. I like that, and they did the exact same thing with the surprise finish in AJ Joe, and such good like production going into that too, where the hard can they know where they are, and you get the tap out, but only on the replay because like the ref didn't see it and we didn't either because I mean that was just so clever. That was really very, very good.
That was really good. But that was one of those too. It seemed like a lot of the matches tonight had like these crazy video packages. Before I was like, why is this taking so long? I thought they were lowering the sale again. Like, I guess it's going to be in the sale. Turns out it wasn't. Like, what was all that video about?
I missed that entirely because we were both like, man, he's going to reread this entire story.
Yeah.
And the man is like, well, maybe they're lowering the sale. And I'm like, well, dadgum, that's really good thinking. I was with you. I didn't think it was, but I'm like, man, that really makes sense. And they go back, and I'm like, well, y'all just wasted our time, didn't you? And it was the same thing for the main event because they go back, and then it's all like, well, here comes the sale. I was like, why didn't you get this done?
What was that video package about?
Yeah, what are you doing?
You weren't even halfway.
Yeah, seriously. So
started it.
Let's just put it right here, and we'll drop it. And they had to get it down and gimmick that door so Lesnar could, Twizzler it.
I'm the editor.
Yeah, I'm the editor.
So, but yeah, that was just. And you had the Miz and Maurice and Bryan and Bella match, like kind of whatever. But you needed that match to kind of be like, it's going to do something else.
Yeah, you got and that exhale match.
And I was surprised at the Ronda and Alexa match being kind of more of very similar to what we saw, which doesn't make it bad, just doesn't make it like didn't know what to think of that one, but still, I'm not ready to say it sucked. It was just kind of a different one.
That's a good way to describe it. The thing that I enjoyed, we talked about it for the SummerSlam match. It's like the champ at the time was Alexa Bliss, and she's going in to wrestle Ronda Rousey. And what I said at the time, and I say because I said we a moment ago, and I don't mean to include you in my ridiculous hatred of Ronda. Not Ronda. I don't hate Ronda. I'm actually very impressed with Ronda. I just can't. Her and Shayna Baszler both. I love Shayna Baszler. I had no idea. I love her.
Oh, yeah.
Ronda, I just didn't know, and so when it's like, God dang, she really does. Not just that she likes pro wrestling, but she gives a damn about having good matches. Yeah. And so it was like, well, it's on the rookie to get a good match out of this person. And they didn't do it at SummerSlam. They didn't have to. That was the whole point, was to just go in and squash. Yeah. And this time it was a little bit different because they were working like the rib angle and and I was really impressed, especially with the stuff that Ronda was putting over. I really liked it. Oh, I'm finally going to get to say it. I trash Alexa Bliss all the time. I finally get to say something nice. I've been meaning to say this for months. The man's had to hear it before, but finally get to say something nice because it's true. One of the things that always drove me crazy about 5 Feet of Fury and all that is stop reminding me of how little she is. It doesn't matter, especially if you're going to have her throw punches. That doesn't make any sense. If she's 5 feet tall and her hands are this big, why is she throwing punches? Yeah. And then this was like months ago, man. I noticed she's using that forearm, that elbow. And I love it. It's so smart because I don't give a darn if she's Tinkerbell. If she gets a head of steam and flies into my eyeball with her elbow, it's going to hurt like a son of a gun. Yeah. So I'm so glad. We talked about that long back in the day, like, man, just use elbow shots. It makes so much more sense. That's exactly what she's doing now, and I like that. But when she was on the offensive, like the hulking out thing, the ending was just kind of disappointing because it's like, well, but I guess the reason I was disappointed in the end was because I liked where they had gotten me. It was really good. I was really impressed, man. I think that Ronda sells very, very well. And also, something else I mentioned, it's mean, but I can't say something nice about everybody. I can't say something nice about Alexa Bliss and not trash somebody else. Flip Gordon is not my guy, never going to be my guy. But all the Olympic gymnastics stuff that he likes to do, that freaking knee drop, somersault, reverse knee drop, that's a sweet move. That has always been my favorite move of hers. And I ain't saying she should finish matches with it. I'm not saying it's a finisher. But I love that. And it just looks so cool. And it's like, man, you're going to incorporate gymnastics into wrestling. You can darn sure do it. The Bucks do it. A lot of people do it. Yeah. But that's a cool looking... I love that move, and she hit it real well today twice, and I'm like, that's nice. I liked it. And Ronda sold it real well, and I'm very, very pleased because I was bummed when they signed Ronda. I'm not going to hand the division over to someone that doesn't deserve it, and she's a big celebrity, and all that's fine, but she's just going to get catered to because she's a celebrity, and part of that is true. But she's working for it too. Yeah. All right, let me rephrase that. It would be true. They'd hand her the world one way or the other. So the fact that she's working for it, it's totally pride. She's got nothing to earn. They're going to give her everything anyway. But the fact that you have to know that, and you still, it's like, nah, man, I'm going to be good at what I do. That's really commendable. That is, I think that's so cool, man. So I'm like, all right, I'm digging this, man. But I'm with that match. And again, I didn't like the ending, but it's okay. It's because I didn't expect to like any of it.
Yeah, that's what I kind of let this show was like. Man, I thought all this was going to be teetotal crap. Yeah. And it ended up being a pretty fun show to watch.
I completely agree.
So I'm sure that I'll have the total opposite, hear the opposite on everybody else's review, but I don't care because usually what everybody else likes, I'm kind of like, that stunk. And then when I like one, everybody's going to be like, oh, I like the red.
Yeah, but they're great. I made me buy some Twizzlers.
I like the Twizzler seal.
I was talking with Chacho about that yesterday. Got to see the man Chacho. I'm going to tell this story real quick. The man Chacho posted a picture on his Instagram a couple of weeks ago of the Elite DIY and Elite Kane Championship Series.
Yeah.
Kane
Target.
and Ron Simmons. And I am obsessed with WCW champion Ron Simmons because when I was a kid and going down to center stage all the time, that's the era. That's when it was. He took that belt and Ron was the champ and it was awesome. And because how could you not like Ron Simmons anyway?
Oh, yeah.
But it was so much fun watching that guy be champ. And I can't believe I'm not going to get this right because I follow so many wrestling accounts. I wish I could give you credit. I'll do the comment thing later just because it's important. And that way, if anybody watching wants to have a really... We dig wrestling. If you watch the show, there's probably maybe not everybody watches for the wrestling stuff, but some people do. And if you got an Instagram account, that should hook you up. So I will tell you who this person is when I find out. I just don't remember. But somebody posted a video of Ron beating Vader for that championship. Just put like the end up, and so you can actually watch it. And man, he hit some of the power slam at the end of that match. And it's Vader. Yeah. And it's like, you know, these guys, you know, you pop and you take care and you make it look good. I'm going to tell you something. If Leon White didn't want to take that slam, he would have. It was, I mean, it was like, it's so awesome looking. It's JR in 92 and he's freaking out and it's so good. It was so cool to see it again. Like, I think it was 3 days after he posted that, and I just left a comment like, man, I love this figure. I got to get one of these. I love this. And it's a nostalgia thing, and it's Ron, and it's got that beautiful WCW championship. And man, like 3 days later, he's like, man, I found that Ron Simmons. I'm gonna be at the comic store, man. You know, come on up. Yeah, and so I got to see him yesterday because he's the man, and hooked me up, and the figure's beautiful. It's just, oh my God, it's so cool looking, man. And I didn't even notice when it was in the package, but I get him open, I get the belt around his waist, and he's got the Ron Simmons, like the black tape, because you know he's done that forever, like going back to Doom, and I'm like, God, he's just awesome. So I'm freaking because I'm happy. And I was going somewhere with that. I wanted to give Chacho the shout out because it was awesome to see the man. But I know what it was. It was, he said something that you and I say all the time. Because I asked him, I was like, man, I got to ask you, dude, what'd you think of the Takeover, the last Takeover show? He said, man, Takeover's always better. And I was like, man, I said, Jared and I routinely ask, when are people going to stop being surprised by this? Because it's always so good. It's just, NXT is extraordinary. I love it. I genuinely love that promotion. Man.
Takeover being the show to be at, regardless of what weekend it is, whether it's Mania, SummerSlam, whatever, and Appalachian State, you know that they're gonna beat somebody. Beat people. I'm so sick of hearing that.
Yeah, seriously. Well, Appalachian State, they almost beat fill in the blank. Yeah, Appalachian State's pretty dang good, man. They are a frightening team. Appalachian State is one of those clubs that kind of like South Florida. I didn't mention the South Florida game, and I probably should have. That game scared the hell out of me.
Speaking of looking good.
That game scared the hell out of me when it was on the schedule. It's like, man, we're going to Tampa. And if you watch the show, y'all know I love Charlie Strong. And it's like, that's a scary game. I'm nervous about that one. And they won. And I don't mean we lost. I mean they won. And it was kind of the same thing when Pittsburgh already got into that. But I'm like, man, why are we scheduling the game in Tampa? Why are we going to play South Florida in Tampa? It just made me, man, it's great because it's good teams and it's fun to watch. And I love Charlie Strong, so I like you being able to see him. But selfishly, I'm griping like, stupid COVID schedule.
It seems like, you know, they're on a level where they should come to us. But, you know, it just don't always work out that way schedule-wise.
And it's messed up because it's like, man, people put South Florida on the schedule. They should come to Atlanta and they come to beat us in the dot. I'm like, well, damn it. You know, it's like,
well, that backfired.
I'm stupid. I made a miscalculation.
Oh, you meant South Florida.
Yeah, but it's interesting because, like, Florida State's way down. University of Florida's way down. Miami got killed in the first week just so they get to be a punchline for LSU. South and Central Florida are the best programs in the state right now, which is really neat because way back in the day, they started a rivalry. And this is when Jim Leavitt was at South Florida, and they were so good. And I think they won the first 3. And Leavitt's like, we're taking this off the schedule. We got more important things to do. And then all of a sudden, Central becomes the team, and they get back on the schedule, and they start thumping each other. And it's like, this is cool. There's just certain rivalries that it's like mentioning the fight earlier. I love when I can watch stuff as a complete neutral. Usually Georgia Tech, I can just do my deep breathing exercise and I'm okay. I get a little bit feisty every once in a while, but normally I can enjoy it. Atlanta United is the one I have to watch on tape delay. I'm too keyed up. I get too nervous. It's ridiculous. It's why I try not to talk about it on here too much because I'll talk too much about it on here. I'm just a nervous wreck. That's why I like the Hawks so much because I never get nervous watching the Hawks. It's just fun. Partially because basketball is like watching the tide. It's going to come in, it's going to go out, it's going to come in, it's going to go out. And if you're down 17, stick around. Yeah. You might be up 14 in 2 minutes, but football, sometimes you can, you know, just if I'm not feeling right, it's like, well, that's it. It's over. We're terrible. Man, they just kicked off, you know.
Lawrence is coming. We're all dead.
Well, it's done. You know, they canceled the game for the Hurricane. I wish they'd have come and canceled the one in Tampa. But it's like, but nah, man, I love stuff where I can be a complete neutral. And Central and South Florida is one of those rivalries where I can do that. I love it. I just love games like that. Actually, on that subject, and I promise I'll get off of it. This Saturday evening, well, there's this triad of there's actually a foursome. There's a quartet. Enough tet. There's a quintet. No, quint is Quince 5, thank you. Quarter 4,
Yeah.
thank you, brother.
Yeah, man.
There's this quartet of teams in the Western Division of the Southeast, of the Big Ten, that anytime they get together, I have to watch it, whatever combination. It's Wisconsin, Nebraska, Iowa, Minnesota. I don't know why. I have no ties to any of those schools, but it's fun to watch them just club each other.
Yeah.
And this Saturday, the Fox primetime game is Iowa, Wisconsin. I am stoked. I'm a little worried because of those teams, Iowa is my favorite.
Yeah.
And with Nebraska, with Wisconsin just having lost that freak game they lost Saturday, they're going to be pissed. It's kind of like Pittsburgh this past weekend because they just went up to Happy Valley, and Pittsburgh did not play poorly, honestly. It's just Penn State's that much better than they are. But they got all frothy and pissed off in time for us to come to town, and you saw what happened there. I'm like, dadgummit. So, but I love it. I'm very excited. And college football, the first 2 weeks of the season are not, I mean, you've got some good games in week 1. Most week 2 games suck. But 3, we're getting down to some get down. Or 4, or whatever we're up to now. Hell, I don't even remember. But it's okay. It's exciting stuff. And this is the time of year I can enjoy college football because once it goes to the postseason, it just turns to crap. But you can flip over and watch the NFL because they have a playoff and it's actually a lot of fun.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
That's what's up.
That's exactly what's up, by golly.
Y'all be cool.
Take it easy,
All
y'all.
right.